one of the biggest issues, and that's I've talked to quite a few friends about, is like a hill I'll die on. Is like dating multiple people at the same time takes intentionality out of dating.
Oh, yes. I saw your video on that. You made one.
And to me, it was like, I don't understand. To me, it doesn't make any sense. But here's the thing, though. I've talked to two of my female friends who are single, and they said, I date only one person at a time, but I feel that I should date multiple because because I need to assume that the guy is dating multiple people. So yeah, if we start doing what everyone else is doing, we're getting the same results that everyone is getting to begin with. So I don't know how people can change that mindset of, hey, it's okay you date one person, because to me it goes back to the story about the shoe salesman. When you have too many options, then you're like, okay, but I don't know what to choose. And then by the time you choose the person that you think is right for you, the person who was right for you in the past is no longer available, and then you end up settling for someone who doesn't align with your values.
There you go. And I think, again, what you said resonates a lot with me and with my own experiences too. One thing that I can say is that for me personally, every successful or long-term relationship that I've had has been through people that I've met organically, not in any way involving social media. What that means is that it's been with people that I've met through common, whether it's hobbies or activities or places that I would go or things that I had in common with that person, or even through events or workshops that I was giving. Like, I would meet people through these situations. And so had I used dating apps? Yes, I had. I think that they started to come out like right around the time that I was about to graduate from university. And so I think myself being one of the first like wave of people who's like, oh, interesting, let's go ahead and try this thing out. But then like myself, like you explained as well too, I was in long-term relationships for 5 years. And so I was completely plugged off offline. And coming back after that, in 2022 was when I had found myself again not in a relationship, and I was like, well, what in the world do I do? Because oh my goodness, I have been so out of it since 2017, I think. So from 2017 to 2022, I don't think I had any kind of like use of those types of connecting platforms or apps. And so it was this whole kind of situation where I was like, well, it has worked for some people, so like, why don't I go ahead and give it a try? But then also too, when you talk to people and you hear about their experiences, you hear some pretty intense or sad or just really hard things that people have gone through. And there also are the opposite extremes, like I said, of people who I know who are now married, who met through dating apps. And you have the whole gamut of experiences. For myself, I have found that I have connected best with people when we've met through organic ways, and we've met whether it's literally at a furniture store or at like a workshop or a communication event or something like that, where it's like we have common values, because this is a person who's also interested in growth, or who's also interested in bettering their communication, or who's also, because we're going to the similar types of activities, we're going to similar types of things, we have common values. Having those core values in place doesn't mean, like I used to think, again, that you'll both be exactly the same or you'll both agree on all the same things, but you have a same common or collective goal where it's essentially we grow together and we grow ourselves as individuals, and then we grow and support each other in our own growth and in our relationships' growth. It's that commitment. Like you said, there's a lot of fear of commitment, like having too many options, the 2 shoes versus 3 pairs of shoes to choose from. Is there going to be a purchase when there's 2 options or 3? And there's selection overwhelm, where when we have a certain number of options, once it surpasses, think about it when you're buying jam, for goodness sake. When you go to the grocery store to buy jam, there's not only probably 5 or 6 or 7 different brands of jam, but in each of those brands, there's probably 5 to 8 different flavors, where when I go there to the grocery store, I kind of stare at that and I'm just like, what in the world? And I could take 6 or 7 or 8 minutes to pick a jar of jam, because I'm just like, oh, which one has the best ingredient? And I'm like looking through, I'm like, organic, low sugar. And I'm trying to find, because there's so many options and it can be very extremely difficult. And then when you choose one, you're like, oh, I should have gotten the other one, right? Because you're like, yeah, the other one was like 50 cents off. And then you're like, well, can I get a coupon for that one? And so it's funny to use it for an example like shoes or jam or something silly, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's a silly little $7 purchase, or for shoes, it's like a lower cost purchase. But we're talking about people here. right? Like you said. And so these aren't commodities or just disposable objects. We're talking about human beings with emotions and feelings who have valuable experiences just like us ourselves. Now, I think there definitely is that kind of selection overwhelm where when I have so much easy access to so many options, and especially let's say I'm like a highly sought after man, or I'm a man who's dating and I just happen to be, you know, an attractive guy, or I'm really tall, or I have a really nice job, or I fit these stereotypes that causes me to get a lot of attention from women. I have my pick. I can pick whoever I want, essentially. Let's say I'm a very attractive woman who fits all these feminine stereotypes, who gets a lot of attention from men. I get my pick of the selection where I'm just like, okay, I can pick what I want. It's almost giving like more leverage or power to people who are in these very archetypal situations where they have more of that attraction and they're receiving a lot of that attraction from people. And so it puts people in these very compromising situations where it's like, well, you have so much power to essentially swipe or choose or knock somebody down, not meaning to, but it's a lot of ability to just like move on from a person or move past it. And it's a lot of fear of missing out, I think, too. I think there's a lot of fear of missing out, like you said, for your friends who are single, where it's like, well, I can date multiple people at the same time because then that way I know I'm not missing out on something better. I know I'm not missing out on maybe that person is 1% more of what I'm looking for. This guy, he's great. He has like 83%, but there could be someone who has 85, you know, and that person's probably out there somewhere. So if I'm just a little bit more patient, I guess I'll find that. Now, there's also that danger, too, of the opposite extreme where it's settling, where it's like, this person has like 50 or 60% of what I'm looking for. They align with maybe one or two of my core values, but I don't want to be alone. Let me go ahead and pursue a relationship with this person because then I won't be alone anymore. And goodness, I'm so tired of being alone. And so there's the opposite extreme of settling. And then there's this other hand. On the other hand, you have this extreme of I will get what I want. And so, you know, I'm not settling until I get at least to 95% of what I'm looking for. And both of those extremes I don't think are helpful. They're two opposite extremes and I don't see any of them being helpful, but I see a lot of people getting stuck in either one or the other, of settling and resigning and being like, you know what, it's better than nothing. At least I'm not lonely. I can finally start building my future. And for a lot of women, it's like, oh, I can finally start having a family, right? I need to eventually settle down with someone. I want to have children. You know, I'm in my 30s or whatever it is. And then for a lot of other people, it's that opposite extreme of just continuing to go through and cycle through relationships because you can't find what you want.
What's up, everyone? If you enjoyed that, then press here to watch the full episode. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.